Why am I single when I'm doing everything right? Different forms of this question pop up. How can I heal myself so that I can be healed enough for a partner that I want to come into my life? So another way this question pops up is it possible to go from avoidant to secure, or from anxious to secure, or from spice of lifer to secure? Um, and can attachment styles change, that kind of thing? Now, you might think these are all different questions, but they're actually all the same question, and I'm going to explain how and why. Let's just take an open-hearted, anxiously attached individual's example, because that tends to be the majority of my audience, but I would add that this works for any other insecure attachment style. So we think to ourselves, I'm an anxious person because I worry a lot, but a secure person must not worry as much as I do. So when I learn how to worry less, then I'll be more secure. The thing that I want to point out here is that the difference between, let's say, you and a secure person is not the worry that you're experiencing. Okay. The difference is how identified you are with that worry, because the presence or the absence of an identification amplifies or de-amplifies the effect of that worry. So let me just explain this in more basic terms. So the more identified, that we are with a worry, the more we allow that worry to color the lens through which we perceive the world, our partners, and any other possibility for you. When that happens, now we start behaving in ways that tick off the boxes for an attachment assessment that tells you you're anxious, okay? But the less identified you are with that worry, the more you're likely to take a pause, sift between the sensation of worry and then how you're going to act upon that worry. We start to question it. So, for example, anxiously attached individuals are usually very accurate in reading emotional cues. They're hypervigilant about it. Then, however, they make a misinterpretation and assume it's about them, or assume they've done something wrong. But someone who has a more secure attachment might say, okay, let's do a little bit of reality checking before we go making an assumption that's going to lead me down an unnecessarily painful path or make me feel rotten about myself when it might have nothing to do with me. Doesn't mean that I have no agency or that I'm not special and deserving of love. It just means that they may have a problem and they have to work it out. That's the other thing, is sometimes we have a tendency to want it to be about us, because then that means that we feel special. That means that they must be as preoccupied with us as we are with them, and that makes us feel safe. But on the other side of it, then we take on too much responsibility for them. And then someone suggests, well, you should create more boundaries to feel more healthy and secure. And you reject that, because then if you create too many boundaries, you're not going to feel special anymore. And then you assume you're going to feel lonely. And then that's going to feel like, well, if I could meet my needs, why would I bother being in a relationship? Nobody will want me. I have a video on my YouTube channel that also addresses that. If I can meet my own needs, what's the point of being in a relationship? And 3 steps to reduce suffering and love. And that, because that is fueled by a notion that we must suffer for our love. And if we are not suffering, then we are not loving. And if they are not suffering for us, then they are not loving us either. So being secure does not mean that the worry isn't there, but it does mean that you have more free will and spaciousness inside, kind of buffering the effect of that worry. Because when you immediately act on a worry that compels you, you are going to receive a reinforcing response from the environment. For example, a triggering response from an avoidant partner, because they are operating in the exact same way that you are in the equal and opposite side of that coin. So moving towards security means that you are not the worry anymore. You are the part that observes the worry and makes decisions about it. I know it's there. I know that when they don't text me when I want them to, I want to send them a barrage of texts until they respond to me, but I'm aware of the impulse. Doesn't mean I have to act on it. Doesn't mean there aren't creative ways in which I can turn that energy in on myself and explore the things that make me feel good about myself, and move that energy and focus in those directions instead, and sit with that ambiguity until the environment reveals more information to me, or until an answer emerges from the depths of my soul that let me know what next step I should be taking. And that's step 1. So a lot of spiritual circles will tell you, you just have to observe, you just have to assume the observer position, what I'm going to call a moon's eye view, get spaciousness around your worry, and then you can be in charge. Yes and no. Accomplishing that is a big step, because even though you may still feel the anxiety and you're trying desperately to escape it, at least now you're in dialogue with it. At least now you're in conversation with it. And at least now you're making a choice to stuff it down, if that's what you're trying to do, as opposed to just letting it take you over. Step one, right? But I think we can all agree that stuffing things down isn't working either. And so, but then what happens is now we are in the observer position. We are in a moon's eye view, and now we see how anxiously we're acting. Now we see how much we're worrying, and now we start worrying about how much we're worrying, and now we're anxious about how anxious we are. And we think we're doing such a good job of hiding our anxiety. The more I can figure out how to get rid of this feeling, the more secure I must be, and thus the more I can earn a good partner. You're stuffing it down, you're stuffing it down. I'm not needy, I'm not anxious, I don't need these things. And someone says to you, oh, are you okay? And you say, nothing's wrong, I'm fine. But on an affective body level of communication, or let's call it an energetic nonverbal level of unconscious communication, they can tell you're not okay. They wouldn't have asked the question. They would not have asked the question if you were not emoting that in some fashion, or they were not sensing that from you in some fashion. They are perceiving you as your words not matching up with what they are sensing from you. And when we are in love and when we are in a romantic relationship, our communication is primarily on the level of the body. It's what we sense and feel from each other. It's a feeling place. And because your words are not matching up what they are sensing and feeling from you, and because as a society we are not actively taught to label and sort and trust our own feeling states, let's say, above an external level of validation, they get confused. They're confused because they're sensing this. You're telling them no. They're like, am I sensing myself correctly? Am I sensing them correctly? Now there's a whole bunch of confusion. And when there's that much confusion, you cannot trust someone. You can't. You can't trust them. You don't trust yourself with them because you think you're not reading them correctly. And so in the end, they don't feel safe with you. They think there's things you want that you're not expressing, and then that makes them feel like they can't trust you. You're not being upfront. And if you think, well, that's what avoidant partners do. Oh, yes, they do. Oh, yes, they do. Everyone's doing it. Everyone's doing it. And so no one's trusting each other. And so now we end up in the anxious avoidant trap, because you're both doing the same thing. And then, seemingly out of the blue, let's still stay in the more open-hearted perspective. Let's say you've been doing that for a while and you're suppressing things, but your energy is actually lighting you up like a Christmas tree. And then seemingly out of the blue, 3 or 6 months down the line of the relationship, this person breaks up with you, suddenly wants more space, and you have no idea what you did wrong. You were doing everything right. You were doing everything right. You were saying all the right words. You were doing all the right things. What went wrong? Maybe they say something like, I don't know, the chemistry's off. It's a mismatch. I can't tell you. Or maybe they ghost you because they don't know how to explain that. And maybe they have a fear of conflict on top of it. And they don't want to see the disappointment in your face. And this is what I call a double trouble, right? It's a double trouble because when you have an experience, because your body is the first, organizer of experience. And in your life, when you have received messages and information and stimulation and observed and taken in by osmosis, the way that other people emotionally respond to and act with one another, which is typically the ways that I just described, then you take it in and that's how you are. And your body has a certain programmed response, especially the attachment system, limbic part of the brain, to what it's going to be attracted to and how it's going to respond. So you could have all the insight in the world around something, but if you have a synaptic groove in your brain that is wired towards being anxious or wired towards being avoidant, you have on a body level deep-seated beliefs and responses that are tied to your survival. Okay? So security is your relationship to your own insecurity. If you can shift your relationship to that and you can learn on a body level how to connect to your own securities, how to be in dialogue with the parts of yourself that those insecurities represent, if you can have an active practice and process for being in communication with that part of yourself in the inner space, then all of the momentum you've got tied up around pushing or pulling against that part of you starts to relax and titrate. That is security. That is security. Okay. So it's a form of acceptance. And I don't think it happens all at once. I think it starts by witnessing, observing, being tolerant of it, then being accepting of it. And then once you are accepting of it, you will feel once you're accepting of it on a body level and you've engaged the body in being in dialogue with it, then you will start to feel compassion for it. And once you hit the level of compassion, now you're stepping into felt security.